Go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Dharma Gathering. It is always so nice to see all of your faces and your pictures, see your little chats. My name is Sheena. Tonight's session, Concurrent Healing, Healing Ourselves, Freeing Our Ancestors, will be led by Dr. G. Dr. G will lead us through a guided meditation, a Dharma talk, and then we'll have some time at the end for any questions or discussion we want to have around the talk. Tonight's session will be recorded as usual. And so if you want to be off camera, you can turn your camera off. That's totally fine. Please also keep in mind that if you ask a question, your voice will be recorded. So if you prefer to pop a question in the chat, that's totally okay. And if you have any questions at all during the guided meditation or during the talk, you can pop those into the chat as well, and we'll make sure we get those for you. The recording of tonight's gathering can be accessed within 48 hours via your Vimeo account. And you'll see it show up under your purchased products, so you'll be able to access that. And you will get an email notification from us once that's available. Dr. G is a queer Caribbean Black being whose work as a clinical psychologist and Buddhist teacher focuses on healing and liberation of BIPOC at their intersections. Through psychotherapy, public speaking, and teaching, Dr. G guides transformation of mind, body, and spirit, healing intergenerational traumas, narratives of our experiences of birth, old age, sickness, and death and transition with humor, non-aggression, and deep compassion. Dr. G, welcome to Weekly Dharma Gathering again. Please teach us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sheena, and so good to see you all. And for all the people I can't see, it's this vessel is a portal. I'm so excited to be a part of this portal, this time of history. One thing I should have named from the beginning, as you were all centering, so I'll give you time to do this, is to prepare your environment. And really take a moment, if you've got some extra pillows or blankets, a writing implement that is not electronic or technically or Bluetooth, and some paper, to have those accessible. We'll be needing those shortly. So in the meantime, I'll just land here with you all at the end of this. It's the last day of Dun season, a period of obstacles. It's one of my favorite seasons. It's nice to just have the obstacles out there in plain view for us to work with and play with. And I would love to know, for those who are present, if you could type in the chat, where are you in the world? If you know the native land that you're seated on, I would love to also see that as well. So gathering some extra support pillows, cushions, a writing implement, and some paper. And if you feel inspired, let me know where in the world you might be. We've got Nikita and Chinook and Cowlitz land, Camas, Washington, Baltimore, Gail, welcome. Kaylin and unceded Duwamish, Seattle, welcome. Glenda, Trini in Colorado, that's wonderful, welcome. Yeah, Caribbeans don't really come this far west. It's hard to find us out here, so I'm in resonance. It's good to have you all out here. So our thank you from the land of Potawatomi, uh, Pa, Potawatomi.
Yeah, it's also pronounced Potawatomi, I believe.
Thank you. Miami and Chicago, thank you so much. And thank you for letting me hear your voice. Mhm. What a gift. What a gift that we've been um, given to rest on this land. I'm just going to take a moment to acknowledge the lands that you all are resting on, um, that we will be in continual nurturance of it and appreciation of it for generations to come. Thank you. Thank you to all the peoples who have maintained this land when we have abused it. Thank you. Mm. Ashe. Hmm. Well, this evening, I want to share with you um, a bit of time travel. I've been time traveling a lot. I don't know if anyone else has in this last year or so of perhaps altered and suspended time. Um, it's kind of nice to have our norms disrupted. I wish it were not for the risk of lives, but our norms have been disrupted, and with that, I've noticed a lot of bending lately. I've noticed that people are having a hard time keeping track of what day it is, um, what week it is, where are they in space and time, right? And that's actually not a problem. That is actually not a problem. There are so many realms of existence that are available to us that because of the speed um, and busyness that we were engaged in before, we didn't, many of us did not have the luxury to have access to it. So how wonderful that we have this human experience, this and given this body um, to be able to experience that. Yeah. And I know that, you know, um, many of us, and myself especially included, are feeling the burdens of this body. We're all in different positions on this human existence to experience something different. But and each one of these experiences offers us a gateway into change, into awakening, into a deeper understanding of not just our experience, but the experience of those who have gone before us. Mhm. They say that the human existence and this realm offers us the greatest opportunity for change, the greatest opportunity to actually, we have the ability to taste all the other realms of being, the ways if we could have everything in the world in the God realm and everything is just so, from that to hells and prisons and spaces of poverty and extreme suffering. We, in our human existence, sometimes in a day, we find ourselves experiencing all of the tastes of other realms of existence. And that's actually a gift because we're not stuck in any of them in this realm. We have the ability to look at them, feel them, touch them, and also let them go with practice. With practice. Some days better than others. I mean, let's face it. Some days better than others, but the potential is there. The potential is ripe, and especially now, um, we're in this space of in between, where there's been a little bit of foundational destruction, a little bit of holes poked into the things um, that we know and in our very being, and so there's an opportunity um, to broaden our scope and to like the Sankofa, like the mythical bird, hold past, present, and future in our gaze. That we can hold the three times. The three times are occurring right now. And what I'm hoping through this this guided experience is to um, do as they say in the proverb, to understand our presence, use our body in the presence to take a look at the past and hold the seeds and nurture the seeds of our future. That it's all here in each and every moment. So let's get started with the feel of what that might begin to feel like. So I'd like to invite you all to first arrange your space. I know sometimes we have this there's a hyper masculine way of sitting when I say, okay, take your seat or um, find an upright position or a space where which fosters awareness and everyone's like, so um, allow some softening. That's why I asked for blankets and extra cushions that you may feel into, but also reconsider that the seat that you're sitting in and how you're sitting may not be the most comfortable. So just play around with the body position that allows you to stay awake optimally. That's a whole nother practice. I'll do another time. but you feel supported. So tuck those cushions wherever they need to be to give extra hold. Give yourself warmth in any space that feels drafty, especially the backs of your neck and make sure the smalls of your back and your ankles, the backs of your knees feel held. And make sure that the conditions around you, we are in Zoom time, so you'll probably hear at least a cat or a dog from my area barking and meowing. But that's all part of this human experience. Right? And that can be invited in as a part of the environment. As you're settling in and settling into the space that is supported, that allows you to feel comfortable staying. Just take note of what your body has contact with now. Notice the feel of the textures that cover or cradle you. Notice the sounds that surround your space. Notice that some sounds are close and others seem further away. You may move your tongue around your mouth to taste whatever you may have offered your body most recently. Allow the eyes to soften with no particular focus. But if it is comfortable to you, allow them to gently stay open to allow the colors and images and movements of your surroundings to gently trickle in. And perhaps you can take note of this vessel, this body that you have in this moment is breathing. As you bring awareness to the breath, notice that the breath moves in every part of your body. On the inhale, you may notice a sense of expansion, of breath and space. And as you exhale, you may notice that your body sinks and collapses into the supporting objects around you. As you inhale, allow those supports to cradle you, to be your back. And as you exhale, allow your body to settle a little bit more. Take a few moments to do this at your own pace, noticing the body breathing. As you notice your body breathing, thoughts, feelings, sensations may find their way through the mind's eye. And we can take note of them and allow them to move. And as you're ready, I'd like to invite you to call to mind an ancestor with whom you have a positive connection. And when I say ancestor, this can be a being that is of your bloodline with whom you've lost. This could be a being of your chosen family with whom you admire and have had connection. Or it could be a being with which you've had no connection, but you aspire to have connection. And take time to imagine them as full and three-dimensional as you can. What are they wearing? How have they styled their hair? Are they moving? Notice their gestures. Notice as you are observing them, as you are being in space with them in this moment, what arises in your physical being. And these sensations might have texture or shape or color. We can invite the poetry and the artistry of the body's language to describe your experience in this moment. Notice what shifts as you spend more time in their presence. And allow them to reside in your mind's eye as we consider another question. Bring to mind a question that you have had on your mind recently. It could be anything. What do I cook for dinner? What do I do next? Perhaps, who am I? Or how can I rest? Hold in your mind's eye a question that is meaningful for you in this moment. Allow yourself to ask the question without postulating answers to the question. And as you hold this question in your consciousness, notice what you notice about the body now. Notice the sensations that arise. Observe without judgment where these sensations arise in the body right now. Describe and notice them in as much detail as you can, in texture, in movement and shape. Almost giving an energetic definition. And as you sit with this question, as you sit with the sensations that arise in response to this question, I invite you to bring the presence of the ancestor. Place them in any space that feels supportive to you in this moment. And they could be in front of you, behind you, carrying you, whatever feels supportive. Note that they too are observing what you observe. They too are sensing what you are sensing now. They too are holding the question that you are holding. And what do you notice now? What do you notice now? What do you notice now? And as you're ready, you may allow your eyes to open a little bit wider. To move about the space that you find yourself in. Perhaps the sounds in your environment have shifted or become louder. Notice the surface that is holding you. And gently give your, if you've been still or haven't moved, gently give your fingers and toes some movement, your ankles some rotation as you're able. And just move in any way that feels right for your body. Mm. And at this point, if you have your writing implement and paper nearby, I'd ask you to bring those near. And when you've acquired those, we're going to do a free writing exercise. And for those of you who are not familiar with free writing is a writing practice where you write for a duration of time without stopping, as much as it is gentle on your hands and wrists. It's a time that you write whatever comes to mind without editing, without crossing out or rereading what you have written. You just allow whatever it is that arises to just be. And there are many vessels from which the ancestors can speak. And for me, this has been one of them. So I want to share this with you. So um, I will keep time. And so for about 10 minutes, I will invite you to engage in some free write. Another minute. Okay. And wrap up. You could always come back to this. Mhm, mhm. And, as you're ready and if you're able, I would love to hear anything of what came up for people or anything that they noticed that they found um, noteworthy or interesting in their experience.
I could share something.
Mm.
Um, so I have in my ancestry is Louis Riel, who in Canada is a bit of a historical hero. He was a Métis freedom fighter who organized a rebellion against the Canadian government to protect the land of his people. He organized a few of them, and he was captured during the last one, and then he was hung as a traitor of the Canadian government.
Mm.
And I learned very little about him when I was growing up, but as an adult, I've researched him more. And something I found very fascinating is that he, at one point, to hide from the Canadian government, ran to America and committed himself to a mental institute because he probably had like depression and possibly schizophrenia. It's hard to say. There isn't like good records, but he had hallucinations and deep depressions. And what I found really interesting is that he ultimately went back to organize the final rebellion where he was captured, not in spite of his mental illness, but because of it. Because he started to wonder if it was actually something telling him about where he was supposed to be and what he was supposed to be doing.
Mm.
And I find that really fascinating and think about it a lot, considering how often things are presented as something that you have to overcome instead of something that you integrate into how you show up. And particularly from an ancestor who was, his whole life was dedicated to liberation. So that just really arose for me.
Thank you so much for sharing. Mhm. Mm. Anyone else?
I can share. Um, I thought about my aunt on my father's side of the family. So much so that I actually sent her son, my cousin, a text message and said, "Send me favorite pictures of your mom." Um, she passed when I was, I think, 18. And she is the first woman who I saw like just have like this really glamorous look to her, like jewelry. The first time I saw someone put the makeup on, it was her. Started thinking about all of that and just the relationship that we had. Um, and I wrote about how I was so young. And so I didn't know to ask her questions like, what do you do to take care of yourself? Like what do you do for self-care? Like, um, what's your favorite song? Just like things like that just came to my mind, like conversations that now that I'm older, I would have those conversations with her. So then it made me start thinking about my aunt who's 80 and who's still around. And I actually wrote, like, I need to call her and find out her favorite song. So
Hmm.
that's what came up for me.
Hmm.
Great exercise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm. I personally had a list of questions. Like the questions just didn't stop being listed as I started my free write. So although I prompted you all to one, I have a list of now like 30. And sometimes that can be so frustrating, but but life is in the questions, and so I have to keep reminding myself that, and that the voices of which those questions were coming from were not of my own. Everyone's got their own like cliche worries. They're like, oh, how am I gonna pay the bills, or like, oh, this or health, or everyone's got their thing. But these were questions like were not a part of my thing. Like making medicine, I don't even, I barely cook. So they didn't feel like they were mine entirely. Um, and even as I was guiding the meditation, I often do the meditation along with you all, and I just found myself really tangibly feeling fuzzy around, especially my hands, which are not just my hands, they're my mother's hands. I can't look at them and be like, those are my hands. No, there's no my hands, those are my mom's hands. They just don't smell like bleach. That's the only way I know these are maybe mine. But the inseparability of and the stickiness of just even this being that is a conglomeration of so many beings, some I know and some I don't, got me into a flurry of many other questions. Mhm. Well, thank you to those who shared. Not your last opportunity if people want to share later on, but I just want to name first my appreciation for those of you just to be here and to experience this and to allow yourself to experience this as if this is new. Um, Sometimes the topic of um, who are our beings, who are our ancestors, who can we rely on, can get muddied, um, because our ancestors do things that make sense and don't make sense, or that we agree with and don't agree with. But really, um, to remember and to bring forth those who we think would have our best interests at heart, regardless of those conditions. Um, mm. And our bodies are portals. Um, as those of you who have shared, even in my own experience, every time I touch into my body, at first it feels like I'm touching into something about my relative experience in this now, and all of a sudden, something else starts to happen. Some other memories even start to percolate from, my attention to some sensation, and time gets a little muddy. Time gets a little muddy, and that's why. That's why I keep saying like the body is a portal, because even in the now, um, we have access to every other time that we had that like shiver, you know, every time that we had that tightening in our lower back, you know, or that throbbing of our toe. That there's a connectedness with even that, with even the time with which someone in our ancestry, whether blood or not, may have had an ache in their toe or some tension or some headache. Right? There's some connected sense of knowing and being, which we sometimes call interdependence, that we are not existing as our own separate beings. Yet nothing exists in a vacuum, that we didn't arrive here in this realm of existence like that from nothing. And then even as we are here, we are still not continuing to exist without the influence of something else. I'm existing right now in some ways an influence because of the interaction I'm having with you all right in this moment. And whether or not that is within our awareness, and hopefully like a practice like this can begin to slow us down and help bring this into our awareness, into our understanding of how else might somebody else, some being else be experiencing this. It gives us a moment to also know that we can connect with things that are bigger than ourselves, seemingly. I always often go to nature. Mm. And especially in a time of like claustrophobia of body, you know, when we have this um, this ailment of the air around us that may not seem escapable, that we can still experience that and also realize that at our elemental core, we're the same as that tree and that forest and that river and that pond and that sky. That we're the same and connected to ourselves at this age and 5 years prior and 5 years prior and 5 years prior. In the person in the next cube, in the next cube, in the next cube. We're part of and of the same matter at our most intrinsic element. And so we can also use the body not just to remember that abundance potentially, but also to remember and bring to mind, you know, history would always frustrate me. I never understood, like, why do we need to repeat history? Am I the only one who received that adage? Like, history repeats itself. I'm like, why? Why? I was like, oh, history repeats itself when there is no awareness. Okay, but I think they left off like a part of that. Yeah. Right. So yes, of course, like we are creatures of habit, and in some ways, habit moving our body in a repetitive and familiar way is a way with which we have learned to survive. Is that little part when remember when I talked about like different realms that we can live in? It's that animal realm. Animals are pretty cool. They're simple. They learn pretty quickly, and they just do the same thing over and over again. Works great, keeps most of them alive. In the same way, we have a part of our beings that habitually do things to keep us living, to keep us feeling safe, right? And we don't question it. It's efficient. It's great to not have to worry about that all the time. And yet, sometimes, out of the space of what we define as being something that we fear or something that we want to avoid, we may create habits of ill. And then we have histories of ill. And then we have societies and civilizations of ill. So when we're able to actually land into our experience of our body, even if that arises as thought first and locate it in this moment, in this being, in this system, in this present moment, we have an opportunity to invite another witness, as we did with our ancestors today, to actually have a greater breadth of view of what are we seeing right now beyond our habitual ways of being. Even the act of pausing in our experience is an interruption of a habit that allows for the possibility of other options of being. All we need is a gap. It sounds so simple, but all we need is a gap to drop into and you know, in this case for us, you know, bringing our ancestors with us to help us tolerate hanging out in that gap a little bit so that other options might present itself. And also a remembering of who we really are at our core. And I'll say for myself, like, and for likely, I will not speak on behalf of the other POCs, but as a Black queer being, in this world, I have to remind myself constantly of the nature of who I am at my core. Because if I were to rely on what's around me, I would probably be dead by now. And I would probably be repeating all the ills of my past right now. I probably wouldn't be teaching. I definitely would not be teaching. So this knowing again is a coming back. It's a way that we can remember and also connect with, so that we can make different choices. And because we're entertaining and allowing ourselves to look back, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, we're offering an opportunity for a different ground for future generations. In recognizing that the pain that I'm feeling right now is very similar to the pain and the injustice that my ancestors have felt for hundreds of years, builds an invaluable connection. And yes, I can resonate with the pain of it only, but I can also resonate with the potential for something else. Maybe there was an action that got interrupted that I can actually carry through right now. Maybe there was something that wasn't said, and I could feel the bubbling of something that's wanting to be said, even in this moment in my body, and say it. That allowing that, seeing that connection and allowing another option allows for a different future. I have no idea what the outcome would be, but it would be something different than what was accessible at the time. That's how we use this body as a vessel of both change, but also deep connection and a deep fertilization for the future of what we want to see. But every time that we notice, that we're brave enough to notice the fullness of our experience, that we do something different. We allow for something to come into the space. That's what sometimes I'm just like, well, that's the magic of it. People are like, Dr. G, what will happen if I'm like, I don't know. If I take this break, if I take this gap, if I notice it, I was like, I don't know. But what I've seen consistently is that something different has an opportunity to arise. And that's the beauty of spontaneous awareness and spontaneous insight, is that we prepare the conditions for it to happen. We don't have to orchestrate it happening. We prepare the conditions for it to happen. And that condition right now is this human condition. It's really like skin is starting to thinning condition here, right? These bones, the skin, right? It's this being that we're blessed to have in this lifetime, and all of its intricate happenings from moment to moment. It's creating space for that to happen, that allows the potential for something else. And our ancestors of all walks are waiting for us, are offering us, questions upon questions. They're offering us little hints to say, hey, we want to heal too. We want to be free as well. Can you help us? So if we're able to be in the present, then perhaps we can have a little more confidence to explore the edges of our experience that we have shunned, we have maybe been afraid of our abilities to hold or to look at. We're stronger than that. And I know that because our innate nature it keeps producing. It keeps producing this beauty. It blows my mind. How does that happen? How are babies born in a pandemic? I don't understand. There's so much death and there's still so much life. Both are occurring always. And if we don't feel that we have that bravery on our own, we can bring in these people with whom have been our supports, who see us for who we want to be and are. And if we feel like they can hold it, hey, let's bring them in. We need all the support we can get, right? And notice what happens to our beings when we notice we have that support in witnessing something that's difficult. Notice what happens when we're able to just pause. Notice what you drop into. And it's from that space that there's a potential for, I don't know, some pretty awesome stuff. I'm still amazed that in my lifetime, so much technology has happened. Like, I mean, I'm just like, I'm talking to a flat screen. This is amazing. Like, I mean, even just that has happened, and so much more, and so much more. So I just wanted to offer, for me, the arts have been tremendously important in its intersection with the Dharma around creating unstructured spaces, to create another avenue for languaging, for imagining, for dreaming, for and entertaining of being in the present with what is difficult and just allowing it to be. For locating and giving it space, but also holding the inseparability of our brilliance at the same time. So that's all that I have to say for this evening, for this moment. I would love to hear how people are doing in this moment, any thoughts, questions. Blessings to those who have had to go.
I'll go.
Hi there.
Hi. So the ancestor that I brought to mind is my mother. As it happened just earlier today, it was unplanned, but I happened to go by the columbarium niche where she and my father's urns are located, and so that was a tender experience. And so doing this imagining of her, and she had been in her life often a great comfort to me. This is true for everyone. There's complications, but by and large, I was very lucky to have her as my mother. And so, a little bit of tears kind of welling up and thinking about that. But also the question that I was working with is who am I in this life? And I find that a really challenging question to work with. But I'm really appreciative of your suggestion to for instance, just like imagine my mother, say, sitting by my side and just being there as kind of an encouragement to hold myself gently as I just approach this question. And to have a generous kind of outlook for myself and who I am. This culture, as you well know, is good for wanting to go and make us all feel very small. And so the idea of being able to bring my mother, to be with me is I feel that, and I'm very grateful for your suggestion about that.
Thank you so much for sharing. Any other last questions or musings? Shar, may I name this aloud? What you have written? So Shar shared that they called in Audre Lorde, and their question being, how do I survive? Mm-hmm. And they're hoping, enjoyed the exercise and hoping to do it again, calling in my blood relatives. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I feel that when we ask the question, we do get answers. So over the next few days, just keep your eyes open. These questions do get answered in some way. There may be signs. I often am very specific because sometimes I'm oblivious to benevolent and gentle signs that are quite direct about the answers to my questions, and they do show up. They do show up. Well, thank you all for taking the time to engage, to be here. Please keep writing, keep practicing, keep leaning in. I appreciate you all and your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. G. And thank you everyone for joining us live tonight. And thank you for everyone who joins via the recording later. Please tune in next week. We'll have Rashid Hughes here to provide us with a talk on Wednesday. That should be great. If you are not already a weekly Dharma Gathering subscriber, you can sign up on our website for a 7-day trial. Just kind of give us a try, look around, see if there's some videos you like, come to one of our live sessions. And then please be sure to just spread the word about us. You can follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Weekly Dharma, and we're also on Facebook at Weekly Dharma Gathering. Again, thank you all so much for being here. And again, thank you so much, Dr. G, for your talk tonight. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the week.
Cheers. Be well. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gina.
Yeah, I'm glad we got you in.
Yes. I knew it would happen. Have a good evening. Let me know if you need anything.
No, absolutely. Thank you.